Abuja. Founder Institute is the world's. So, you're welcome, everyone. So, I'd like to crave your indulgence for maybe just 2 minutes so we can have the um, other panelists join and also more participants join. Okay. So, in another 2 minutes, then we'll be ready to. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, good. So, welcome once again to everyone. And I see our numbers have gone up a little bit in just the past few minutes. So, my name is Ajuma Atagba, and I'm the managing director of Founder Institute, Abuja. Founder Institute is the world's largest pre-seed accelerator. We are headquartered in Silicon Valley, and this is our 15th year of operation globally. Um, we are the world's most proven network to turn ideas into fundable startups and also help those startups build global businesses. And since 2009, our structured accelerator programs have helped over 7,000 entrepreneurs raise over $1.8 billion in funding. Um, we're based in Silicon Valley and we have chapters across 100 countries. And our mission is to empower communities of talented and motivated people to build impactful companies worldwide. And in Nigeria, we're present in Abuja and Lagos. FI came into Nigeria in 2020. And in Abuja, we have successfully run 7 cohorts and are about to start um, the 8th cohort. We have a portfolio of 76 technology companies, all leveraging, most of them leveraging software as a service in different sectors. So it's our honor and delight to bring you this webinar today to talk about the burning topic that startups, are always, quite curious to learn more about, which is startup funding. How can you raise funding for your startup idea? And we have a team of experts, ecosystem leaders, locally and internationally, who have the knowledge and experience, and they will also be sharing all of this information with you. You're going to have the opportunity to also ask them questions during the Q&A session. We're going to be able to just cover, in an hour and a half, be able to do the bit that we can do. And also, we have other events, organized by Founder Institute that you can learn more through our blog posts, YouTube channels, and other social media channels. But for today, we have a lineup of these top experts. We have Lavina Ramisin, who is Africa's Voice chairperson and director. She's has expertise in psychology, technology, and economics, and she's known as the AI mom. She's recognized as a top-ranking leader in the realm of AI advancement globally, and she holds this position as chairperson, advisor, and also founder with a passion to unlock and be the consciousness for Africa. So I'm going to leave her. She's also venture partner with Aves Lair, also on the board of GSMA, a trusted advisor with the African Union. I'm going to leave all of that introduction. Her introduction is like 2 pages. So when she begins to speak, she's going to share more information about her work, and her LinkedIn profile is also available for you to glean. She joins us from South Africa. We also have Shola Adekonye, who is general partner and founder of OIA Open Innovation Access. He is also the founder, and then he's the chief executive officer of T Pro Logics and managing partner Transcend Pros. Shola has helped businesses build in the past 10 years, find growth and reach their potential, and has worked actively with FI Abuja, working with our startups. We also have Olufemi Balogun, who is the founder, co-founder, and chief executive CEO of at Pay Vantage Limited. He's a visionary, results-oriented, and goal-driven person, and in the last 15 years has had cross-functional experience with exposure across consulting, banking, and telecoms. He's also a mentor at Startup Arewa, founder and director of InsurTech, has footprints in Nine Mobile, and also Access Bank. So his profile is also, LinkedIn profile is also available for you to, glean on. Also joining us is Ife Adebayo. Ife is the national coordinator, program coordinator of IDICE. He's had footprints with AFDB as a digital innovation specialist, and he was also special assistant on innovation to the vice president of Nigeria, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the past administration. Has footprints with IFA by City Solutions, SDL, and more. So these are the mentors that are going to be talking to us on the topic startup funding. And what do we expect that you're going to learn? What are the key metrics and prerequisites for raising funding? Then how do you make yourself attractive to investors? And what are the best ways to source different funding resources, such as angel investors, venture capitalists, grants, and loans? So thank you and welcome. And I do hope that we all have a pleasant time engaging during this webinar. So over to you, Mr. Shegun, to continue with the rest of the program. So welcome everyone once again. Welcome participants, and thanks for joining.
A lot of people here for the call. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking our time to be with us. So we'll move on straight. The format of the program is going to be, we're going to have the panelists have a chat with us for 10 minutes each, and thereafter we'll go on to the Q&A session. And at this point, I want to request for attendees, if you've got questions you want to ask, you could drop them in the Q&A session. Do I have some questions for them? You don't let wonderful guys like this off the hook easily. You really want to dissect everything. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things about funding, how you get funding, why you need to position yourself for funding, where do you look out for funding, and you're actually going to answer that question by yourself. Am I ready to fundraise? And that's a critical question for us all. And I'm sure our panelists today will help us. They come from the African diaspora. They come from Nigeria in the diaspora, Nigeria based in Nigeria, Africans and all. So they're going to give us a whole lot of perspective to this. And I'm trusting we'll get this off quickly. So I'll start immediately with, we're going to have 10 minutes while the other panelists join us. We've got two more coming in. We'll start off, chivalry isn't dead. So I'd always say ladies first. Lavina, Shola, I trust I have your permission to do that. I know I do. Okay. So, Lavina, talk to us, give us a whole lot you need to throw down to us on funding.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so very much for putting this together. Huge congrats to each and every one of you for actually being here and sort of following through with it. I just want to tell Shengu, you said that they're going to hold us accountable, so I'm ready. I'm sure all the other mentors are ready as well. So bring it on. But I think let's start with a dream, right? We all have this dream and this idea of saying, this is what we want to solve. This would be really cool to do. And, that's pretty much how most of our journeys start. And this is me speaking as a founder. It's always nice to kind of have a job and a stable one that kind of covers your basic needs. And then you work on your passion on the side. And the sort of essence to that is that it will make you happier and even more fulfilled at some point. But probably about 18 odd years ago, my world flipped in terms of that sort of conundrum. And, I realized that there was a large misalignment between the things that I kind of needed to do on a daily basis to the things that I truly deeply cared about, to the things that I really wanted to change on a day-to-day basis, right? So, in Africa, I always say that we innovate out of a need, right? That's the first and foremost. And, never let that go, unnoticed. Kind of, let it be your navigator on the back end, right? So today I kind of wanted to just delve into some of the factors that we consider from a investor perspective in terms of a startup, and what are those areas that we would find most attractive, right, within that context. So we have obviously 5 areas that I kind of broke it down into. One of those areas is the idea. So first and foremost, the idea is really important. It is pretty much the core and the basis of how everything else sort of unfolds around it, right? And, next to that is probably a team and how the team then executes, how the team then adapts to this idea. There was a saying that I came across a while ago, and I've never forgotten it to date. And it says, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Okay. And that was actually Mike Tyson that kind of, had that quote. And I think it's kind of pertinent to business as well. We all have these like ideas and, and interpretation of how things will unfold. Sometimes you may have a market fit, or a market need, but you don't have a product fit. Sometimes you have a product, but you don't have a market. Sometimes you have both a product and a market, but you may not have the technology that then supports that execution. So it's kind of a balanced sort of environment that we need to navigate through, right? And team execution is really zoning in on the ability when we do get punched in the face, right? How do we navigate? How do we become agile? How do we kind of also stay true to that idea that we originally started instead of chasing the money, right? I think one of the other areas, so this is the third area, is really around your business model and, how companies need to have a very clear path in terms of what is going to generate your revenue. Take a deep dive into not, yes, I know this person and this person will give me a contract, because most of the time life never works that way. You really have to understand how you're going to close out contracts. That's one of the biggest areas. And that definitely has a direct impact on your business model. When we have to look at funding as an example, people raise insane amounts on a global scale. People also raise quite a lot within the Africa context, maybe not as much. And perhaps that's also increasing as we speak. But I think, attracting funding really boils down to your timing of the market. So, there's a couple of examples, and we'll probably talk about it just now, in terms of where ideas that were brought to market way too early, or perhaps even maybe everyone around wasn't ready for that idea, right? And that's what we kind of say, it was too early for the market. And that's a tougher road, because you have to go on a journey of educating the world or the environments, and you've got to justify your position of why you are right. Okay. And also, it affects competitors, it affects, your sort of landscape at large. So literally what I did a few years ago was really delve into these billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies and what exactly made them successful. It wasn't always necessarily around having the wild card successes like the Airbnbs, the Instagram, the Ubers, and the YouTubes and the LinkedIn. They are termed as wild card successes. It was more or less around, having your timing that came out as the most sort of significant factor. The next was team and execution. The third was your idea or truth. Your fourth was your business model, and your fifth was your funding. So as you can see from this, it's really around the narrative that you're creating, and that you're actually, bringing to life. So, given the fact that timing was number one, it kind of really speaks to the fact that we've got to understand the localized environment really well, as well as something that's slightly larger, which is, your sort of continental context as well. So this is where things like your TAM, SAM, and SOM models become very important. And I think, when we have to talk about, like, for example, the wild card stories, we all dream of being that wild card because we want to know that we're unique, we're different, we have what it takes in terms of shortcut, having a shortcut path to success. So, if we had to take Airbnb as an example, there was investors that kept refusing them. When they started out, I think they went through over about 600 odd investors. They've gotten comments like, no one's going to rent out space in their home to a stranger because that's a violation. There's safety and security measures. People don't have money right now. The economy was in recession, and the rest of it. So, I think we can always come up with a story if we had to tell ourselves one, and give us an excuse. But, look at their trajectory and look at how they sort of navigated the space and changed an entire environment, right? And this was right in the height of recession. And I think it just appealed to people because, the general population could make extra money. The same was said true for a company like Uber. When they came out, I think they had an incredible company story. They had an incredible business model. They also were great at execution as a company, but the timing wasn't as perfect. So, they kind of really then needed to figure out a way of how drivers that were looking for extra money could actually then be that thing that unlocked the timing factor for them. Another company that some of you probably have never heard of is called Z.com. And this existed probably in the early 1990s or 2000s. It was an online entertainment company. And, the team was great. It had a great business model. It signed awesome, like Hollywood, talents to the company name and to the brand. But the sort of X factor that made them fail was that the larger population didn't have access to internet. So that broadband penetration was too low. And, that in itself led to its sort of demise. The last one that I'll probably dive into is YouTube as an example. I think YouTube was a great idea with unbelievable timing. Like it had timing on its end. The thing that it didn't do very well was its business model. So when it first started out, it wasn't even sure in terms of, what that business model was going to look like. It just knew that it needed to be out there, and that, and all they saw was people, really utilizing the platform. There was high engagement, and then thereafter came the business model for them. So they could have been making a lot more upfront, but it took them a long time to kind of fulfill that sort of pattern. So I think, before any one of us has to, decide whether we're retiring through this journey of being a startup entrepreneur, or we're resigning from our day-to-day jobs, it is it's no easy walk at all. And, I would just encourage every single one of you, when you're looking into, areas of funding as such, build relationships with your investors. Take time. Be intentional with your investors. Go and do enough research. Show them that you know a lot about who they are and what they stand for or what they invest in. I'm tired of hearing the stories of where African startups actually get sort of taken advantage of in the investor space. So, do research, speak to as many people as you need to, get multiple views on a particular topic or a particular, VC company before you just say yes. And, one last thing I'll probably touch on is, the fact that you can actually say no. Don't be afraid as, startups to pick and choose who you want alongside with you, next to you on your journey, side by side, because it's going to help you in the longevity, and sort of allow you to kind of take that path to the end and see your dream to fruition. So I will just say to each and every one of you, we are here. So is the FI sort of Institute. Ajuma and Sengu are always great at offering support to all of the previous startups, and they have a quite developed ecosystem around them. So leverage that as much as you possibly can. And I wish you guys everything of the best. So rock on.
Thank you, Lavina. While Lavina was in, one of our mentors also, one of our panelists came in, Femi Balogun. Femi, welcome. It's so great to have you guys here. I mean, I heard one thing very clear from Lavina's speech. It was research that informs the decision. So please, founders, startups, don't be shy to research. That's something FI takes as priority. Research, get into the market and get your data out. Okay, so I move on to Shola. Hi, Shola. It's been a while.
Hi, Shekhar, how are you doing today?
Fine. Shola is my modern day globetrotter. I mean,
yeah, about to get on the road.
We really want to get that. We really want to get that spice from all around the world right now. So Shola, it's over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, and thanks, Lavina, for that. That was really awesome. Just listening to you and just hearing some of the thoughts you have. that we share as well, we value as well as a venture studio. So that was awesome. I want to start by congratulating all of you, the founders that are here as well, because it's such a great thing to get up and do something about what you believe in. The future is not going to change if we all don't rise and do something about the future. So really great job, that you guys are pursuing your dreams, despite all the horror stories you've heard about, startup journey. It's not going to be easy. Yeah, it's true. It's not going to be easy, but you're doing it anyway. So we'd rather have doers than not have doers. People that just, hold back because it's not going to be easy. So congratulations to all of you for just taking the courage and just rising to do something about it. For us as a venture studio, we've spent some time with FI. FI Abuja probably doesn't know this. We've spent some time across Africa just working with different FIs. And right now, we've invested in quite a few of them. We have about 10 companies in our studio now that we've either launched or are building ideas or working with them to develop the ideas. The funny thing is about 60% of those people came from FI. Yeah, FI Abuja, FI Kenya, FI Ghana. And for some reason, there's a reason we go to FI. It's not because it's FI. It's just because there's a foundational knowledge that we believe every startup needs to have. You don't quit your job and just believe in an idea and just start building. Many times we find out we have to go back and then re-educate people and educate. That takes too much time from us. What we want to do is to have people build that foundational knowledge that we can build on top of. Because what we do is more real life, where every day is more like real life experience that we're building with the founder. We're working side by side with every founder to ensure that reality sets in here. If we need to go talk to this person, we go now. We don't learn the theoretical part of going to do that. We actually go do it. So having that foundational knowledge is very key. So usually we try to go, FI just seems to have a good curriculum. Of course, FI Abuja is, their friends. So they definitely have a lion's share of the 60% I'm talking about. So one of the first things that we look at before I dive into some of the technical part of things is the character. That we say at our studio that at the end of the day, really, there are many ideas. Every founder here has an idea. The cohort before this one, there are many ideas. The cohort before that, many ideas. The cohort before that, many ideas. Every year, there are a lot of ideas that we're churning out in Africa. At the end of the day, those ideas are worthy of notoriety. Some of them are not as good, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the person executing. We look at character before we look at experience. So how is this person showing up? Are they showing up as people that can be trustworthy? Are they showing up as people that can learn? Because many times, you find people already so convinced in their ways of doing their innovation that they don't want to learn anything anymore. They don't want to listen to anymore. So we look at things like that, and it's very key for us because we're going to be working side by side, and it's important for us to have a person that would at least, be willing and be open to other ideas, other thoughts out there that experience out there as well. So we look at that very closely. And then another thing we always look at is that we look at how lean-minded that person is. See, we're going to be building companies. Money is scarce. I don't have to tell you that money is scarce out there. But at the same time, money is abundant out there. It just goes into the hands of some people. It doesn't go into the hands of everyone. But money is abundant everywhere. So to some people, money is scarce. And it's usually, unfortunately, that is usually startups that end up, not getting a big chunk of what's available out there. So we always look out for lean-mindedness. Is this person going to burn through whatever cash they get very quickly, or is this person going to at least have that caution and that conscience to maybe think through ways to spend that money in a way that will last them a lot longer and don't have to do what they don't have to do, and then also do more with less? Can they improvise to do more with less money than having to spend money on everything? So those two things we usually first look at when we do that qualification, because it's important. And I've talked to many other investors as well. It's somewhat similar there. At the end of the day, it comes down to the person too, right? I think you heard Lavina also talk about experience. That's important because, I mean, that's your credibility. You're making a claim about something that you can do. So who are you to come do it? Why should anyone trust you to do it? So that is important. So always ensure that you show up the right way, you show up the right character, and your word has to be your word throughout your interaction with anybody. What you say at the beginning must be what you say next week, must be what you say continuously. So a little bit into the technical aspect of things. We're not that far off from what Lavina said, really, because first thing we look at, after we look at all that character, all that, is what are you bringing to the market? What innovation is this? Are you doing something that is so unique that the world hasn't seen before? The world has seen many things, so there's almost nothing the world hasn't seen before. But how are you doing it? What is your take on it? What are you bringing to the table that is different from what's already out there? See, we always somehow, in a way, remind founders that the options are out there. You have the option of a small company who already has a customer base, who already has customers they're selling to. And you are a startup and you are promising innovation and an idea that the small business doesn't have, a unique way of solving the same problem that the small business is solving, but you're going to solve it a different way. So that uniqueness must be very obvious. You can't do what the small business is already doing. Otherwise, why should anyone invest in you? It's not about having another website. It's not about having another portal. It's not about there has to be some unique way of solving the problem that is a small business is already solving. Because the thing about the small business is they're already cash flowing. So why should anyone give you money rather than give someone that's already cash flowing that money if you're going to be doing the same thing? So you have to always think about your uniqueness. What are you doing? What's that innovation? What's that idea, really doing that's different from what everyone else is already doing? So that's going to be very key. And how you communicate that is also key, because you might have an idea, and we see that many times. We tend to nurture people by helping them really get down to being articulating their idea. But you still have to be able to explain it. You have to be able to describe what you're really trying to do to get the right people attracted to you. So once we look at that, obviously you want to look at the team, you want to look at the person. Character is one thing, but then also the technical expertise to execute is also another thing. I've been found that many times. It's Lavina mentioned YouTube. You see, I remember my very first attempt at any startup was back in 2008. I was doing my MBA at the time, and a professor of mine came and said, "Well, let's do this video this video recording, for marketing purposes." Essentially trying to describe YouTube, but we didn't have the word for it. We didn't have the language for it. So we decided, so we started going about collecting videos. But we were collecting videos, and the videos were going to attract advertisements from companies, and we were starting to get some interest. But we didn't have the execution. We didn't have the technical ability to execute. I didn't even know anything YouTube existed at the time. We were just doing what we were doing. But when we abandoned that idea, YouTube sold to Google shortly after that. So that technical expertise is key. Imagine if we had the technical expertise, could we have gone somewhere with that idea? Because it was right at 2008 that this was there, and we were aggressively working on this thing. We were getting a lot of people doing videos. So, but the technical expertise wasn't there at the time. I'm more of a, I'm not a technical guy. The professor is a marketing guy. So we can sell any idea any day, but you still have to execute technically. That's what that part we were lacking. We abandoned the idea. YouTube, built something, and at the end of the day, they sold. So that's a good thing. So that experience is key. Experience, technical expertise, and it doesn't have to be the founder that has that. So just always make sure either your co-founder has it, or at least you have some sort of agreement with someone out there, maybe a technical team out there that will support your team. If you can't afford to hire someone in-house, there's technical ability or experience has to be there for sure. The next thing, similar to Lavina, is we also look at the business model, but we look at more like, how are you monetizing this thing, right? Because it's one thing to have this idea, but how are we going to make money from this idea? We prefer multiple monetization channels than one. The more ways you can make money from one idea, the better. But if there's only one way possible, that's okay too, as long as it makes money. So you have to think about your idea. Start thinking as you're going through FI, how can I monetize this thing? You can, as you think through that, you might be able to unlock a new customer segment that you never even knew existed. So just think through that, spend time really thinking about that. Multiple monetization channels is better than one, because that means, your idea is going to be more resilient. It's going to be obviously more attractive because, you can diversify. If one area is not really generating as much, another area could generate more, so it makes it more dynamic and more diversified and more resilient at the end of the day. So, as investors, we like that, because then we want something that can stand the test of time. So that is also key. One other thing we look at, we don't rank this as high. We look at it anyway, is market size. See, I like the idea of market size. What we don't like as much is niche market. We don't mind small market. And I'll tell you why. Look at Southwest. Southwest Airlines, I don't know if you've heard of Southwest Airlines. They only fly regionally in the US. And they are they are ranked third or fourth largest in revenue airline in the world. And they only operate regionally in the US. They're not everywhere. They're not trying to go to Dubai. They're not trying to go to Asia. They're not trying to go anywhere. They're just staying local, and they're making that much money. So if you have a small market that you can really fully capitalize on, and you make so much money, and you can really win that market, then that's even okay. But obviously, a large market is always a better, market, in the sense that, it also adds to that diversification that I'm talking about, because if that local market crashes, guess what? That business crashes. But a more global market, if one market crashes, there's always another market you can sell, so that's why, a Delta Airlines or maybe Etihad or one of those Emirates Airlines might be able to do better than Southwest, even though Southwest is making more money than some of those right now, earning more revenue. But if the US market crashes and nobody's flying in Southwest, then it affects that market. But people may be flying in Asia. People may still be flying in Africa, in other places. So market size is good. Don't throw away a small market. Don't ignore a small market yet. If you see that you're playing in a small market, first look for a way to win in that market, because you don't want a small market that you're still one of the 10, 15 players playing in that market. Your share of that market only becomes smaller. Try to win in that market, and then we can now, over time, look for other markets that you can maybe go into. One of the things we look at is we don't mind a small market because we have the market reach. What we do is called market integration. We take ideas from one market and we try to plug them into other markets. That's why the monetization channels is key to us. That's why the innovation itself is key, because we've taken ideas from Nigeria and it wasn't getting enough traction in Nigeria. We just took it to Kenya. We took another idea from Kenya that's not doing too well there. We just, brought it to Nigeria. Let's do that cross integration. And those two ideas are going to Dubai, because, you know, we just have to keep moving things around to see where the value proposition will latch on, you know, with some customers out there. So it's also important for that idea to be that dynamic, but the size itself is not the biggest deal. Just as long as you can win in a small market, don't throw away a small market, but make the idea monetizable in such a way that if you were to go into a different market, it would still make money. It would still be good. And the last thing we look at is vision. I mean, obviously the vision is key, but we don't spend too much time on vision, because that vision is really for you and for you to tell your story and for you to have a good reason why you're starting the idea. But really, the customer doesn't really listen to your vision. The customer that's going to pay doesn't spend too much time listening to the vision of the company. They might resonate with it when you share your story later, but initially we want to look at how do we quickly, you know, get that idea on the market and start making money from it. So those are some things that we look at. I you know, I hope it serves you well. I just really want to encourage you to continue to do what you're doing. Spend time really deep on your idea. Don't let anyone talk you out of your idea. Don't let anyone talk you out of your dream. There are many times in the past where we've had, I know Lavina also mentioned something, and I don't mean to repeat everything Lavina said, but it just really, it was like, you know, she took my note. I don't know if she did, but it was almost like she took my note and said some things before I said them, but it's okay. But I forgive you for now.
I tried.
Yeah, I forgive you for now. But the idea of an idea coming into market too early, you know, don't throw it away. I personally have had ideas that were too early, and I just got discouraged because yes, there's going to be a lot of education now you need to do, and it may be frustrating to do all that much education because people don't get it. It's too early for them to even comprehend what you're going to talk about. We were talking about waste to energy way too early, and nobody even knew what we're talking about. But now waste to energy is out there. The first one just opened up in Ethiopia, which is good. You know, but at least, you know, somehow find a way to maybe continue to lead that idea on, whether you execute just a small part of it or you at least continue to, you know, maybe communicate that idea and hold on to that dream for a while. Don't just throw it away, because someone someday will still bring into life what's been dropped on your heart. So I wish you all the best. We'll talk some more, and you know, be looking forward to hearing from some of you and help out with answer questions and everything else that you may have, every concern you may have.
Thank you, Shola. I mean, you speaking, Lavina speaking to what you would have spoken to tells you that investors actually think alike. And that's why FI really, really loves this particular event, bringing you guys together to talk to these people and let them get to know. Thank you so much, Shola. Thank you, Lavina. We'll move on now to Femi. Femi, hi, how are you?
Good.
So we're doing a round. You guys will talk to them for like 10 minutes and let them, you know, generally on startup funding and all. So the ball is over to you.
Okay, thank you, FI Abuja, for organizing this program. I think it's a great one to add values to founders. It's very important for us to understand what investors are looking for. What are they looking at seeing? Interestingly, I lead a PayVantage. Of course, we're managing this company for the past 6 years. We are yet to raise fund, despite we've been approached by a series of investors to invest in our businesses. But what I'm going to encourage founders that are here, what are the key things that you need to take note of is, number one, you need to identify the pain points of the customer that you're addressing. What does the customer need to get done, and how are you trying to solve the problem of the customer? And I'll give you an example of what has happened in our country, which you can also resonate with for people that are here or for people that are in Africa. Number one is that if you remember in the last maybe 10 years or 5 years ago, you tend to see customers, you tend to see resellers selling recharge card, you know, under the umbrellas around the streets and the likes. However, customers goes to these retailers to go and buy recharge card because they just want to recharge their phone. the job that they need to get done is to recharge their phone. However, some smart guys came up and they said, okay, what does the customer need to get done? The customer just needs to recharge their phone. And they were able to work with mobile network operators, right, to be able to leverage technology for these customers to be able to recharge their phone from the comfort of their mobile phone by having access to their bank accounts. And what you can see today is that you end up not seeing all of these retailers on the streets. What has happened? They have been able to identify the pain point of the customer. And what is the pain point? The customer wants to recharge his or her phone. The customer is not interested in leaving their offices or their location to walk down to go and buy that card. And once you can leverage technology, they were able to disrupt the retailers on the street. So what's very important is that you need to be clear on the pain points that you are trying to solve, the customer pain points. All customers, no matter where they are today, they need a better way of getting their job done. They need a better way of trying to solve what they currently do. So once you're able to leverage technology, you'll be able to identify the pain point of that customer. That's one of the things we've done in PayVantage. And in the last maybe 4 years, just to put some statistics into the table, we've processed over $369 million in transaction value, over 1.4 billion in transaction count. And we have never raised a penny from investors. We bootstrap. And today, we're operating in a healthy cash flow and positive EBITDA. What that means is that, I believe the guys say that investors know what I'm saying. EBITDA is earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. These are some of the index, key performance index that investors are really interested in. So identifying customer pain points is key. Market size, yes, it's very important to look at market size. However, you can look at the industry that you are playing in. And that's why, one of the Shola, your line is one of the Shola said, how can I be number one or number two in this industry that I'm playing in? It's very important you ask that question. The market size may not be $5 billion. However, in this industry that I'm interested in playing in, that I've identified, the pain points of the customers, how can I be number one or number two in this industry? It's very important for you to know that. Also, it's very important for founders to understand that, you must start with an emergent strategy. And what do I mean by emergent strategy? In emergent strategy, what is very important is that money should be impatient for profits. You have to note this. During your emergent strategy, when you are trying to test your idea, money must be impatient for profit, but patient for growth. What does that mean? When you say money should be impatient for profit, what it means is that the little cash you have, while testing your hypothesis, the pain point, the idea that you have, you are trying to test the hypothesis, trying to see if this is going to work. The money that you have at that time should be patient for growth, but impatient for profit. You must try as much as possible during your hypothesis stage to be sure that that business model, that innovative idea that you've got, it is profitable. And at that level, you move to the next stage, which is called deliberate strategy. At deliberate strategy, money should be patient for profit, but impatient for growth. Once you have tested, you'll be able to test your hypothesis and you see that this is profitable in the short term. Maybe, you test your hypothesis with a community, a cluster, and you've seen that your idea is profitable. You can see that it works. You can see that you are truly addressing, the pain point of a customer. Then it's important at that level to be able to raise funds, to quickly acquire as much as you can. You grow. And at that level, investors that are also here will agree that at that level, once you have been able to test your hypothesis, money will now be patient for profits. Right? You are not really interested in making profit in the short term, but you are really interested in acquiring more customers, grow, and at the end of the day, you'll be able to unlock more value, because once you are able to test the hypothesis and it's profitable in the short term, it is clear that it will be profitable in the long term by acquiring, a significant market share. So these are key things that I think I would like to share with you that are founders. It's very important you address pain points. It's very important. You understand the market size. Unique selling point is also key. Shola said the same, what is your unique selling point? What problem are you trying to solve? Why should a customer use your service? Why should a customer use your product? It's very, very important that you look at all of these indexes, adding to what Lavina has said and Shola. With that, you'll be able to, number one, bootstrap to some certain level. Number two, you'll be able to raise fund. Number three is that you'll be able to deliver. You're able to deliver, profit before tax or profit after tax to investors, right? So life has gone beyond just wrapping up the numbers, revenue. You must be able to tell the investors, right? So at the end of 5 years, I'll be profitable, right? Because at the end of the day, it's either you're profitable, you give returns as dividend, you're profitable for merger and acquisition, or you are profitable, for organizations that are willing to sell. You build and you sell. Lastly, is that you can also decide to build your organization to last, meaning that you are not building to sell, you are building to last, but you must have clarity of presenting to the investors. No investor is running a charitable business. Everybody's they are business, men and women, and they want to be sure that when will my money come back? When will I be able to get returns on my investment? And with that, having all of these principles, I think we'll be able to, scale, raise funds, and deliver value to investors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Femi. Thank you, guys. It's been wonderful. It's been so great. We'll move quickly on now to the Q&A session. I really want to thank you guys for all of this. Already we've got some questions trailing in. Okay. That dropped in from Yusuf. Before I move on to my own questions. It says here, and also, panelists, if you get too much, you could just go ahead and just put the responses there. It says, what are the metrics investors are looking for at a pre-revenue company? What are the metrics investors are looking for? I think I see. Oh, okay. It says, what are the metrics investors are looking for in a pre-revenue company? Lavina. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, let Sola go because he and I are probably going to have very similar answers. So in all fairness, let him maybe go first.
Okay, Sheila, the ball has been kicked over to you.
Sure. So there's not a lot of metrics pre-revenue because, you haven't raised money, you haven't sold anything other than just to continue to keep accountability of like what you're doing. One of the things that is important pre-revenue is lean though. Whatever money you've raised, how have you burnt that money? So burn rate would be one thing that I would say you should look at. If you have raised money, then of course other metrics will come in. If you have a little bit of revenue, then other metrics will come in. But that prior to that time, what you can show to investors to prove to them that you are a good custodian of money is your burn rate. How have you raised from your own savings, from family and friends that have gotten you this far, and how have you spent that? Being able to demonstrate that you have this lean mindset is very key. So I would say burn rate of whatever amount you've raised so far is very important. I know that at that point in time, I'm assuming you don't have customers too, because you don't have revenue, you don't have customers. And also one thing that I've heard some founders say is that they're looking at their lifetime value. You can't do that yet at that stage as well, because you don't really have any value until you actually put that idea to test and is actually generating and producing for you, or else it would just be a non-producing idea that you have at that time. So not a lot that you should pay attention to, how lean you are with how you're applying and deploying the resources that you have, however small at that stage. which would be your burn rate. Pay close attention to that. Every way you spend money, how if you received a $1,000 rate funding from maybe family and friends, how did you spend that? Being able to demonstrate to people. Don't show investors that with that 1,000 you hired 2 developers for 1,000. Then that shows that you just burned through that money very quickly. So just your burn rate is very key, I would say, at that point.
Thank you, Shola. Thank you so much. I've got these questions reading in, and I'm going to have to, combine a lot of them. So let's start from the top. Olivia DC Ayongaba wants to know, she's calling in from Cameroon. She wants to know, what does an investor focus on in a pitch deck? And I'm going to join that question with this. How do you make yourself attractive to investors? What is an investor? What are you guys looking out for in the pitch deck? And how do I make myself? Because my pitch deck is probably what I'll start using to, display myself. So what are you guys looking out for in the pitch deck? And how do I make myself attractive to you guys? Lavina, I would have loved Femi to do this,
yeah.
Pay advantage and all, but let me push it to Lavina. Femi, you could also chip in whatever you want to. Yes, what are you guys looking out for in the pitch deck?
I love this question because it's not so much about the pitch deck than it is you actually pitching to us. But, in terms of the essence of information that needs to reside on there, there's loads of different templates that exist in terms of, giving you a good guideline. I would just reiterate, keep it very simple, keep it very clear, because the easier that you can articulate your story, your problem solving, your solution to us, the easier it is for us to make decisions within a very short period of time. And practice, know your stuff. Don't read off slides. Don't become reliant on tech because, sometimes tech can go haywire and, you may not have connectivity. So just be able to really, pull all of that together. And what was the second part of the question?
How do I make myself attractive to you guys? How do I make my idea?
Okay. Awesome. This is quite an interesting one. I would say, first and foremost is, understand how we operate, and be very specific about who you want to attract into that environment. Once you understand us, start building a relationship with us, right? Those are things that would start, getting the conversation easier in terms of where we want to land. If it is your first meet with us in terms of you just pitching and the rest of it, the things that we would look for is, and this differs from investor to investor. It depends on their thesis. It depends on what, their sort of current funding cycle looks like. So, it is difficult to kind of take all of that into account. But I would just say, we can see through or we can see authenticity. So, try to kind of rail that true. And I think as well, something that where you can share your story, and your story is something that kind of stands out and you're making impact. Not easy things by any measure, but I'll just add that. Femi, over to you.
Thank you, Larina. Well said. I think what I'm going to add to it is the team, the management team. Who are the management team behind this? What experience have they got? Character is very key. Investors in most cases will conduct background check to be sure that the team that are leading these innovative solutions or innovative idea are people of good character. So character is very key. Your experience can also enable value, and you also have to complement yourself. For example, if you have 2 founders, can you get people that have got experience maybe in finance and you have got experience in technology and product, so that you can complement yourself, and the founders and investors can be assured that, okay, you've got a team that that can deliver value to them. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, my internet is getting very unstable. Femi, I'm not going to let you off so easily. There's a question I want you to really, I'm sure you're reading that. Now, this guy says, it's Colade. He says, will you invest in a good team with not so good idea at the pre-seed stage? You had mentioned something about teams, researching the teams.
Yeah. So for me, yeah, so for me, I will invest in a good team, and then so this question can go further than what's the definition of a good team, right? So, but if I've seen a team that has got good character, maybe through background checks, right? Passionate about the service, they've got experience around what they're trying to work on, you will definitely know that number one, if you extend funding to these guys, they will use it they'll be prudent in their spending, right? They would likely run a lean team. Second is that if they've got experience, you know that if they fail, they have capacity, a capability to come up with other innovative ideas that will scale. So for me, team is number one for me, because ideas that you think is an idea today, a disruption can happen, regulatory changes and the likes can happen, and then the idea will not be able to fly. But if you've got a passionate team that have the burning desire to deliver value, then they will be able to scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to request that each of you also put some notes into that. Will you invest in a good team with not so good idea? And also, guys, attendees to this program, I'm going to give you a little thing about investors. Lavina made it a bit clear, but you guys probably didn't pick it. While you're doing your pitch and making yourself attractive to them, please research on them also. It's important to research on investor. Now, having said that, the link to these guys are on there. I want you all to start following them up right now. Follow them. You get to know what they are interested in. And if you want to get to know them even better, you could join the FI cohort. We've got them all. And you get to have one-on-one sessions with them and be able to understand them. And you know when to catch Shola anywhere around the world where he will be. And I'm going to push this next question to Shola. So, Shola, Kolade wants to know, do you recommend operating multiple business models on a single product? And are there guidelines you recommend to do this effectively? Multiple business models on a single product. And yes, are the guidelines, you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, so multiple business model meaning monetization, if that's what you're really referring to, yes, I would say, because the more ways you can make money, the better for you as a company and as a founder, and then the better for the investor as well, because that diversification, right, also diversifies any risk that you may be experiencing at all. So it's always a better thing to have more ways to make money than one way with your product. Now, in terms of guardrails, or in terms of some of the things that you have to put in place, obviously you want to make sure that you understand each customer segment, so you're clear on what each customer segment is really looking for in the product. It's very clear to ensure that if you're playing in multiple markets, you're going to find different customers. Really qualify each customer segment, because you don't want to change too much in any product you have or your idea for a small customer segment that will end up paying less for your idea than a customer segment that's more valuable to you. Identify what segment is more valuable to you and put more of your effort in that customer segment. And valuable is not who's paying more now. I recommend looking for what you call upside potential. See, upside potential is not just today, it's also tomorrow. So you might have different customer segments. So I'm trying to really think of an example that I might be able to maybe give you. So for example, someone came to us and wanted to had this idea about selling grocery in the US here, but doing it, setting up their own logistics to for that same business, and then also setting up some sort of software to help. So they have about 3 different things that they were going to do with just that single idea. So at the end of the day, those single ideas, those separate ideas could stand alone if they want to. So, and then those 3 ideas could support that same one idea. But at the end of the day, I had to advise him, you have to look at the customer segment, the segment of that market that is going to give you the biggest payoff, meaning they pay you, they're buying from you today, and they also have you have a huge side potential with them, which means in the future, there's going to be need in that market that you will be able to serve. You don't want to pay too much attention to any of the markets that might end up complicating things for you, where you're not earning as much, but then to serve that market, it's going to cost you a whole lot more in the end. A customer, maybe they're too needy, or maybe, for example, if you were serving a market where parents are buying, students are buying, obviously, parents have the money to pay. Students don't have money to pay. But students also have the huge side potential because their parents are going to pay for them in the future. So you have to kind of triangulate really to look at a few different things where you look at the upside potential of each of those markets, and that's where you place more of your emphasis, more of your resources, more of your time, serving. But the other markets as well, you continue to serve, but you don't allow other markets to have too much bearing on the market that can now affect what you're doing in the market that is paying you more now and also will pay you more in the future. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Okay, so next question, I'll push that to Lavina. It says, how do you factor out the equity investors' demand when they bring fund? I'm sure this question is speaking to how do I know how much equity to give out? I mean, this is a burning issue. Most of these guys are just looking for money and they're ready to trade out 99% for just that little thing that will take them wherever they can get. So how do they do this? How do they work around this?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the sore point, right? Which is we've seen so many stories being taken advantage of on the continent. But you've always got to understand, firstly, what you want to do with your company. So even before you go down the journey of, bringing on investors, understand from your 100% ownership, what is that ideal state of how you want, like 5 years from now, that share component to look like? That's the first thing that you need to understand. What and how does that business look for? So, for example, you may say that 20% of that 100 is going to go for investors. And that could be for a Series A, Series B, kind of rounds, or pre-seed and seed seed rounds. It kind of just depends when you're raising as well, right? That kind of really determines the outcome of it. But, so understanding, your investor portion, understanding your employee portion, if that's something that you're putting as part of your narrative, understanding what the founder's portion is, together with, any other sort of maybe technology partners that you may have, or, anything like that, that you may want to bring on, or, whatever the sort of odd cases may be on that cap table. But it's really, really important to kind of figure out upfront and understand, what that would look like. So do your research and understand that market really well. Second is, attend these sort of networking events to kind of get a good idea, or even these communities that exist, so that you can become more aware of what investors are aligning towards. So, whether it's, 5% for 100,000, or, whether it's 2% for 100,000, whatever the case may be, but to give you a sort of gauge, right? There's no ideal state. There's no template that all investors kind of follow. It is really very much dependent on what you bring to the table and the timing of the market, as well for us as investors. So, just be aware that, equity is not something that you should freely give away. It is neither something that you should treasure completely. So, for example, I think in some of the large billion-dollar or big tech companies, some founders are only sitting with like 6% ownership of the company after it became, this gigantic sort of entity. So, like, understand that you're in control of your idea and leading the company on the journey, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, just find the balance between what you're willing to give up versus, that ideal state of exit in the future as well.
Okay, thank you, Lavina. Well, questions are really in, and most of those questions have addressed some of the things I would have asked, but I'll still push the next question to Femi. While pushing the question to Femi, Shola, you have a direct question in the chat. You could just quickly drop the response to Rethink. Says, do you accept Africa's in the response in the chat box there? So let me move on to Lamino Saliu. I'll push this to Femi. It says, can any of the available investors invest in an early stage idea?
Yes, it's
I mean,
the
at
early
some
stage
point,
idea.
Femi, you were all.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
It says, yeah. Am I back? I'm back. Okay.
Okay, so early stage investors, yes. And why would I say early stage? Why would I say early stage idea? So early stage idea because you've got one is that as I said, Shola said, and I've also added to what they've said. Number one is that you've got the right team, right? You've got an innovative idea that you've been able also be able to identify your unique selling points. If possible, you've tested your hypothesis, meaning that you've tested the solution with friends and families or within a cluster. I've been able to show that, okay, this is profitable, it's addressing customer pain points, it's got the value. But for me, what I believe is that number one is that once you have a right team, people of character, people that you are complementing each other, your strengths, your weakness is another person's strength. You guys can work together, right? And you've got clarity on your unique selling points. Investors generally we shouldn't have any issue investing in you guys, and they should be able to, you're able to tell your story that this is what the future is looking like. This is the market size. This is how we are going to become number one or number two in this industry that we want to play in. Investor will be willing to support and invest. And it's also investing in startups is also a portfolio game. Investor also knows that, okay, for every 10 they invest in, there's chances that maybe 10% is going to be successful of one. However, what they are very important and key on is that, okay, how do we have the team? Do we have this team that can deliver value and address the pain points of the customer? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So next question, that has been answered. Next question is from, let me push that to Lavina. It's from Mololuwa Adeni. It says, I'm Mololuwa from Fondus AI Limited in Nigeria. What should you look out for in a VC or angel investor? What should you look out for in a VC or an angel investor? What should you be looking out for as a startup? I think she means like in terms of selection of any one of them, what do I as a startup need to look out for? Lavina? Okay. Lavina, okay. Okay, maybe Shola, could you help with that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's going to vary really what you look out for. But one thing that you should look for, I would say, look for money, but apart from money, look for the person that will invest their time in you. Because what we found is that startups are very energetic. They have a lot of ideas and they're ready to execute. But in many cases, they don't have the experience. And it's a disservice for investors to just hand money to a young person and say, go make the world happen. Yes, you can, but it's just that, that management side, you need help there. So you find someone that can maybe help you in those areas that you don't have experience in, rather than for you to go hire someone to go be doing that. Tell the investor that you also need help in that area, because you don't want to go hire, a manager. It's going to burn through your cash if you have to go hire a seasoned VP of this or director of that and that to be advising you at this stage. find someone that the investor that's giving you money should be interested enough to be able to say, you know what, I don't want my money to just burn. So I'm going to spend time, you know, advising you. Come to me every now and then, but you have to be respectful of their time, because that investor is giving you money, but they're also investing time in you. So that is going to be key as well. So there are other things you should look out for, but I would say look for that first. You know, everything else along the way, you know, would vary from one investor to the other. You know, preference in how they like to work, preference in how they like to communicate, and all of that is, you know, is somewhat subjective. But if you can find someone that can give you money, but also invest your time to nurture you and help you in those areas that you can, more like a mentor, then definitely go for that person.
Okay, thank you. And the last question on the Q&A before I said, I'm trying to really grasp my head around Musa Danlade's question. He says, what do you think about raising fund for a venture studio faced by VCs? Shola, do you have a go at that?
What was that question again?
What do you think about raising funding for a venture studio as a way to address the capital efficiency issues faced by VCs?
Okay, I will answer that, but let me say this: there is money. Let no one lie to you. I'll tell you why there's money. Money doesn't go to everybody; it goes to some people. 2024 alone, the VC market raised $700 and something million. 2024 alone. Where did all that money go? Almost $1 billion. Yes, the market is bad. It's a recession worldwide. It's a really bad market in Nigeria. For Nigeria alone, $700 million in Nigeria alone. Now, fine, most of that, about 87% of that money went into you know, later stage companies, but at least 100 million still went to early stage companies. So about 100 million still went to early stage companies. So they focus more on how you stand out, because money will come, the value and how you stand out, the money will come somehow. The people that hold the money will not come out and announce that, hey, I have this money, come take it, you know. But everyone obviously will tell you that, you know, yeah, that we haven't raised, or we don't have this money, or we don't have that. Yes, in some cases there's that, you know, shortage. Yes, it exists in with some VCs, but it's also still moving around. There's still a lot of cash still moving around somehow. Raising from a venture studio, yes, I would say go for it. Because what you might get from a venture studio is that, you know, a venture studio will sit with you and will raise through you know, work through the idea with you. They're not just going to hand you cash and say, go do this. They're not going to hand you, you know, the big check that the VC might give you right off the gate, but it may be more than the VC will give you over the life of the, you know, life cycle of development of your idea, because usually that's what, you know, studios will do. You know, they may not write that, you know, 121 or 250,000 one check, because they want to write that over time and spend time with you and ensure that they hold you accountable as you're delivering, and as you're moving along, ensuring that you're staying with what you're doing. I'll give you an example of ours. We were investing in a company in Dubai. It was a total of quite a sum of money, I think about 250 or something like that thousand. But we're not going to give 250,000 to someone that just graduated school 2 years ago. No, it doesn't have any experience, doesn't know how to run a market, doesn't know how to manage marketing, doesn't know any of that yet. So giving all that check to him one time is just going to not help him. At the end of the day, he might burn through something. His vision, we had to first align that with the investor goals too, first of all, before we even started talking about other things. You know, so at the end of the day, what we ended up doing is to remove his own idea of how to run a company by hiring a lot of people on day one. On day one, we removed all that. You want to have a team of 10 people on day one. You have no experience. You've only earned $10,000 revenue. How can you have a company of 10 people on day one? So we removed that. And we then started to work on, well, you work with a team of two. And then you have one part-time, and then you continue to work because that's what you're here for. You're here to work. And as you deliver, you get more check. As you deliver, another check will come, another check will come, another check will come. And that's how, so yes, definitely, work with a studio, because the studio obviously wants to sit down, and really sit down. Of course, the model is going to be different in every studio. So then they want to do it differently every time. But don't ignore VCs. VCs, you have some VCs who have a lot of, who can write that check. If you have the experience, they can write the check right now and spend time with you and have you come back once a month or so, and then they can still mentor you through that way. So definitely don't write them off, because there is money out there. I just told you VCs just raised 700 million, 600 and something of that went into later stage companies, but 100 of that went to early stage companies. So definitely don't rule anything out.
Okay, thank you there. Femi, I want to ask this. This is my question. So now I know at the very early stage of your time, you've bootstrapped and funding you've really practically bootstrapped and all that. For founders and for startups who decide to bootstrap, and rather than go out there searching for funds, what would you advise them?
Okay, so number one is that I'll share some insights around how we were able to achieve this. We gave out some let me use so employee shared options, right, to some of the initial guys that joined us. Some of them work as a part-time. So we have guys that were able to pay. They've got 15 years experience, and we need their experience to drive value. We give them invested shares, more like a sweat equity, right? They're currently, they were working, as a full-time employee. However, they were supporting us in developing those infrastructures without paying them, right? So maybe you give them maybe a 1% stake in the entity. They know that they have a 1% stake, and then they continuously deliver value to you while they work where they earn their, paycheck. So that is the initial strategy that we deploy, more like, running a lean team. Interestingly, most of them are now in as a team working together to deliver more value. But you must run with that mindset of, okay, I've got limited cash, I'm bootstrapping, right? We don't have the resources to hire the key guys that you'll have want to be seated and working full-time. Then you can do a sweat equity by rewarding them, giving them some shares in your entity while they deliver that. And interestingly, what happens is that all those stakeholders, all those guys that are giving, a particular shares in the company, they were willing and working tirelessly to ensure that that organization that we have today, PayVantage, is successful. They were able to also bring in their years of experience, right, to deliver value to the organization. And that's why, based on the years that we've been working processing transactions, we've never recorded any cyber attack, fraud, because they've got all this experience. So it's very key to deploy that. However, also, it's that for people like us, that are founders, we decided to get significant, pay cuts, for example, because if you believe in an idea, if you are earning $1,000, you should be able to take a pay cut because you believe in that idea and you are not looking at the short-term goal, you are looking at the long-term goal. And that will also position you strategically when you are about attracting investors, because they know that you've been prudent in your spending, you've deployed a strategy that works for you, and you are ready now to deliver more value. And they will be convinced that you'll be adding value to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then we're getting to the end of all of this. Lavina, one of the questions here says, I think, Mike, we really need more picture of this question. It says, total allotted shares is already 10% of the company, and an investor is requesting for 10% share for $100,000. Is that too risky?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, I'd obviously have to try and understand what is your business, what are you solving for, how unique is it, and the rest of it. That kind of really contributes to that answer. So, as we said, there's a guide. And again, it's it really boils down to what you're comfortable with as a part with in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, if the total amount is 10%, then you've got to really ask yourself the question is, would you require funding in the future? And if so, where would those extra share allocations then come from? And are you comfortable with the sort of arrangement that you're making right now? So, just some typical questions that one needs to delve a little bit further into. But yeah, I mean, happy to kind of take this offline as well with the founder.
Thank you there. Thank you there. Okay, I've responded to this from the, is it possible to get some sites, please? I'll get that for you. Okay, let me push this venture studio questions. Any ideas on how venture studios raise money? Similar to how VCs do. This guy probably wants to go into VC. Okay, any idea on how venture studios raise money? Shola, please. Is it similar to how the VCs do?
Yeah, I mean, the same way. You're going to LPs, people you call LPs who have a lot of money and are looking for where to invest the money. It's just that, you still, so you're going to the same LPs. You have to have an investment thesis. Your thesis in your case might be that, I have a lot of experience. So rather than just give your money out to people, I want to add more value by ensuring that I share my experience with these founders and work with them to help develop, companies. And so that the model is just what's different, but it's the same way, pretty much same way. If you want to raise money, you have to go to the same LPs, same way you have to have an investment thesis and it has to be sound. And an LP will not necessarily invest in a venture studio just because they have a lot of experience and they can add value directly by working hand in hand with the founders, because you might as well just become a small company, a consulting company, and you don't need to raise money for that. But so yes, definitely your thesis, how are you going to invest, what types of companies you are going to invest in, and what are those companies going to be doing, what market. You still have to be able to justify all of that, justify why anyone should add money to you. You still have to have a fund. You have to operate a fund as well. You have to operate, just like a VC. Pretty much essentially a VC, except how you are deploying cash is what's different.
Thank you very much. So we're getting to the end. So I'll wrap up right now with the Q&A session. I'll just give the before Lady A does a closing. I'll like the panelists to just have 2 minutes closing remark for all attendees. Just 2 minutes, something you want to wrap up with for them. In whatever order, ladies first, gentlemen go first. Don't worry about ladies. Anyhow, just
ladies first. Ladies first.
Okay, ladies
How
first.
about AI first? Can I put
AI first?
Yeah. Since I'm the AI mom. No, I mean, really, guys, keep true to your journey. You're going to have great days. You're going to have the most stressful days. FI is not an easy program, but it's one that makes sure that you are actually ready for this entrepreneurship journey. So leverage whatever you can. And I would just say, over and over again, don't be hard on yourself in terms of the mistakes you make. You will make them. It's all about how you bounce back from them. I have twin girls that are teenagers, and I kind of give them, advice in this modern day. And I think it's true for us as well, which is, every nanosecond of every day you have a choice. So, just kind of remind yourself of that and let that be your guiding light. I wish you guys everything of the best. And remember that we as mentors are here to kind of bring out the best version of who you are. So leverage us as much as you can. Thanks, Zengu.
Thank you. Thank you, Lavina. We'll go next, Shola or Femi. If we take the first name base, Femi goes first. If we take the surname basis, Shola goes first. So it's up to you guys. I don't know what you guys want to do.
Shola, over to you. Let's respect the Sunny.
Thank you so much. Femi is so generous. He's letting me go first. Very, very generous. Yeah, so, I mean, you've heard a lot. I mean, very great mentors that you have today that have shared a whole lot. And I would say take all that information. Don't just take notes. Take all that information and do something with them very quickly. Very quickly, too. Don't do something about them next year. Start taking them and doing something about them with them now. Because the longer you wait, the more likely you're not going to do something with what you've learned. One of the things I would say is that as I want to leave this as a parting message to you is always seek non-dilutive options first before you go seek options that help that cost you something. You can see it is possible even in the worst market. Femi is doing it. Pay Advantage is doing it. They haven't raised any money and they run that much through them. It takes boldness. It takes that tenacity to say, you know what, anything is truly possible. It's not going to be easy. I don't think Femi said anything today about easy, but it's possible. So just get yourself ready, get your mind ready to be able to go through that. So go through those options first, family and friends. Try to raise as much as you can from there first. Look into grants, look into pitch competition. There's a company we worked with 2 guys out of FI Ghana, but one guy that was going to be the 3rd guy, we ended up not working with him, but he's everywhere winning $50,000 almost everywhere now. He's won $50,000 twice in 2 different competitions this year alone. So that's what he would have raised on the market, but he's raised that through this other pitch competition and all these different things he's going into. So look for things like that. Look for accelerators or studios that, that also can, maybe issue grants or have demo days that you can come and do that. And give you non-dilutive capital. So it's always better to raise money that doesn't cost you much first. Don't be afraid to put your money into it because you're going to ask someone else to put their money into it. So if you're convinced about that, put your own money into it as well and be able to demonstrate to someone that, you know what, I've actually put my money into this. Femi must have put a lot of his own money into it to see Vantage because he believed in the idea. So if you truly believe in the idea, then put your money into it as well before you start asking people, because that's what one VC friend of mine said. A lot of people come and they haven't even done anything on their own. So, and then as you go into it, for those of you, I just want to share this last one. For those of you that have maybe asset type businesses, maybe you're going to need to have assets like POS or any type of. There's a company called Untapped. They reached out to us and they wanted us to introduce them to companies. They've deployed about almost $15 million in the last 2-3 years or so. They've invested in some companies in Nigeria that like Paga and some other companies like that. What they do is they do revenue sharing based funding. So they don't give you the cash, they buy the assets that you need, they deploy the assets for you, or you deploy the asset, they track it, what they are interested in. They're not interested in equity or anything like that, or interest payment, they just want revenue sharing. So you have to be able to put the asset to work to make money, and then that's how they make money. They're a US-based company, and they're about to raise another $50 million or so again to deploy. So they've invested in over 30 different companies in Nigeria, Ghana, West, all of East, South, North, companies that have raised money from them. It's almost like a debt investment, but it's not exactly debt, because it's just revenue sharing that they care about. But you must have assets, and you must not need 1 asset, 2 assets. You must be ready to need maybe 15 to maybe 50 or 100, assets, and they can finance that. So that's another option for you out there. The company is called Untapped. I'll type it in the chat so you can maybe see that. Untapped is the name of the company. But check people like that out. So always check out non-dilutive ways of raising funding before you start looking at, the dilutive ones, because once you owe that money, whether through equity or interest, you're going to pay that money back. So it's not a celebration as much before you raise capital, because you're going to pay. You're going to pay that money. It's going to cost you one thing or the other. So try those other means. Once you've exhausted them, obviously, just go out there and do what you have to do, but continue to believe in what you're doing. You're already a doer, as in each of you, and you're already stepping out to do something. So keep going. Don't stop. Doesn't matter how hard it looks. Just keep going. There's always going to be, some way out, one way or the other. So all the best to you. I'll be available, and I'll be in Abuja too a couple of weeks from now. So I'll definitely stop by.
We'll be expecting
Okay,
you,
for me,
Shola.
Lavina and Shola, thanks for that. For me, number one is that, guys, you must know that money is a byproduct of value. So you must be value driven. Money shouldn't be you're looking for money, you're looking for money. Just have that mindset that money is a byproduct of value. Once you got value, right, so hard, definitely money will flow. And at the end of the day, you may even end up seeing investors approaching you that they want to fund your business without you approaching them. Once you have got value. Secondly is that understand that you must be addressing a particular pain point. You must have a solution that is helping the customer to get their job done. Better. That's number two. Number three is that, be of good character is key. Character is key. People want to be sure that you've got the value, you've got the character, they can entrust you with the force that they've got, and you can make meaningful things out of that fund. I wish you all the best, and I also be available to support, share ideas, share stories with a view of creating an impact, because what you are trying to do is beyond just building a business and making money. You want to create jobs. You want to add value to the community. You want to create impact and build things that will last. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Femi. Thank you, Lavina. Thank you, Shola. It's been a great session. Time we have this event, it's always very knowledgeable, something you really insightful for even those of us who've been in all of this. Your volume. Okay, Lydia, it's over to you.
All right. Yeah. So thank you so much, mentors. It's been quite an interesting session listening to all the insights that you provided about startup funding, and also to the attendees online. I hope your expectations have some of your expectations have been met. The questions and answers provided by the mentors. Also, I had lots of things today about raising funding, and in conclusion, or my own takeaway is that you have to be strategic, you have to be creative, be solving a problem. You have to be that founder or entrepreneur who has integrity, who has a strong team, who's solving a huge problem that has, a big market opportunity. And then you become fundable and attractive to investors. And investment also comes at a cost. I also said that. And we have the bootstrap master here who shared some of the of his own experience with pay advantage. They have not raised for that. That could be the route, the route that you can follow. But it has a template. And so there's a knowledge, the requisite knowledge that you need to also acquire by a fundraising. It's not just a walk in the park. There's just so much you can You can't learn, get all the information just from a webinar like this. And so the platform or that we have available is through the accelerator program such as this, which is the Founder Institute, where the first level of foundation of company building that you can access is through the accelerator program, which runs for 4 months. And then you can have more of Shola, more of Femi, more of Lavina over a 4-month period, now helping you to work your business, to turn it around properly in the way that it becomes fundable and attractive to investors. And there also, if you decide to bootstrap, that's fine. If you want to go, your business requires funding, and then we also have the funding lab. You also go to the funding lab and learn how to fundraise properly, appropriately. So these things don't just happen like that. So there's a plan, there's a design for it, and you have to be deliberate and go through all the learning that is required to build your business whilst receiving the necessary support that you need from mentors. And that is really the game changer. These mentors are entrepreneurs, CEO mentors, they're not just training facilitators who own and run all of their own businesses. And so they're giving you that, support through programs such as this. So you want to build a great business, a business that will, stand the test of time. This is the route to follow. And so we want to thank all the participants, who have joined that away quite a bit of what we have to offer. We have upcoming events coming up. We're going next week where we have what is called AMA, Ask an Investor Anything. So the questions continue. The investors will be out here also still talking to startups, whether you are pre-stage, seed stage, or growth stage, you're going to be having questions answered. Then we're having a pitch marathon session as well. So we're going to be having starting with the pitch bootcamp, and then a pitch competition. So not a competition, just an opportunity to pitch your startup ideas. We're going to be looking at taking entries from startups that have artificial intelligence ideas, and also the creatives, startups who have who are in the creative economy, who have good ideas, who also have a pitch your startup session for them as well. So those are the lineup of interesting webinars that we're going to have in the whole of September and October. And by the end of October, we're going to be starting the new cohort 8. And so we've shared the links, and so we're encouraging you all to sign up, and get your give your startup an opportunity, to be well vetted and grounded. So thank you, mentors, once again for your time out here. And we're still going to be seeing you during the core program and even during all of these events. So much for your time and support. We'll do all have a great evening, the rest of the day, and God bless Nigeria. Bye for now. Bye. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll be sharing the links to the upcoming events to all participants. So just look out for something in your mail. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Lady A and Mr. Shagun, thanks for the invite. Yeah. Sorry, I had to quickly say
What
bye.
time is it out there?
Oh, it's 7 now. We started at 6 in the morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when are we expecting? You said you're coming